Jen and I will give you updates on where we're at. We've had some real movement on co-sponsors, so let's get right to it.
Well, greetings from rainy Washington. I'm out in Washington State, so we literally are scattered around the country here. Sorry, Susan, I cut you off there.
That's okay, go ahead. You can, you want to really focus on this.
I really did. This is kind of an important one. And I'm just going to ask everybody to mute themselves, please. I get easily distracted while presenting if I'm hearing background noise. So it's just a really helpful thing for me if you don't mind hitting your mute button. If you want to speak out or you have something you want to say, please, we'll have a chance to do that. But thank you. I appreciate it. So I get asked this a lot, and I remember my first meeting January last year. I was not on board with FASD United yet, but I was really excited to hear about this bill and really excited as a parent of kids with FASD to hear about what might happen and what could happen to change the landscape of FASD in our country. And so I get asked, well, isn't it done yet? That first meeting, there was 80, 90 people on it, and policy is boring. Let's just put it out there. Some people are really excited about it. Some people get really jazzed about it. But for a lot of people, it's really kind of boring and they don't understand how the whole process works. So I kind of wanted to lay it out in a timeline. And initially I was thinking, oh yeah, 6 months, we've got this, we're done. It doesn't necessarily work that way. So I'm hoping that we can reinvigorate folks about the RESPECT Act by just showing you kind of what timeline we have. Congress, and some of you may already know this, this may be news to others, Congress works on a 2-year cycle. So we have basically 2 years to get a bill passed. So when this bill was introduced in June of 2021, it had already gone through a number of steps. This Congress started in January of 2021, so it ends in January of 2023. So we're really at the halfway point. We're at the halfway mark. And we've done a lot of groundwork and we've had a lot of movement and a lot of all the things we need to do to get this bill passed in a really crazy congressional session. There have been so many different distractions. I remember we spoke to Senator Hickenlooper's aide in Colorado. We've met with him a couple of times. And his legislative aide said, we have 700 bills that we're looking at right now for the Health Committee. Or for the Help Committee. So this is the kind of volume they're dealing with. And we are making some noise. We are getting noticed. What we're doing absolutely is working, but it takes some time. So I encourage you all to not get discouraged. This is not over. This is literally, we're halfway there. This is like a Bon Jovi song, I believe it is. I'm not going to sing, but we're halfway there, and I think we're making some excellent progress. So right now, the bill is sitting in committee. And our next hurdle is to get it moved out of committee. And we've got some great updates on what we're doing to get there and what advocates are doing to get there and to get it either marked up in committee or heard in committee or attached to another bill in committee and just get it pushed through. So, but that's our next chunk that we need to deal with. So in January, we have had a crazy January. We had the 2 committees of jurisdiction on the bill are the HELP Committee, HELP, which is Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions on the Senate, and then the Energy and Commerce Health Subcommittee in the House. I don't know why it's attached to Energy and Commerce, but I'm sure greater minds than mine have figured that out. Regardless, we've had a key meeting with Senator Murray's professional help staff, and she's the chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee, or sorry, the Help Committee, and also happens to be my senator, which is great. But we met with her staff to talk about, okay, what are the next steps? What do we need to do to get this brought through? And their suggestion was that we need to do markup in committee. That was their call. So taking that, we've also had meetings with we've had conversations with the chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee, Palone, and then meetings with the staff from Chair Anna Eshoo in California. And then also we had a super powerful advocate, Karen, I don't know if she's on the call today or she's working, go and do a face-to-face with Chairperson Eshoo at a town hall meeting and talk to her specifically about the bill. So there's been quite a bit of outreach to the committee chairs and to the committees. And again, I just want to thank Karen for doing that and recognize the California group for their work on that.
There's a question from Gigi on what does markup mean, and which is interesting because I did a lot of work in the Minnesota legislature, and usually you have a hearing and you amend it, and it's different in Congress. They can actually have a hearing where they just mark up a bill, which means amending the bill without having a public hearing on it. So, and they're having, they've had a few hearings, but if you go on their website and look, you can find out. In fact, we got notice about a hearing next week on mental health and substance abuse, and they're going to have, they've got 3 listed that they're going to hear from, and we have to submit some questions. But the markup is where they don't actually have witnesses. And so when we talked to the staff, they said, what we need to do and what we've been doing is build our bipartisan co-sponsors of people on the committee. And then and a request of them for a markup on the bill. So that's in the Senate. The House, I think we're going to try to get a hearing. So that's the markup versus having a public hearing.
Right. Good question, Gigi. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
So co-sponsors, absolutely, when we're getting co-sponsors on the bill, those are people that are signed on as, yes, I support this, I'm with this bill. Yeah, we want co-sponsors on committee. Those are absolutely key. However, having other co-sponsors, because they're friends, they work together on the Hill, they're party members together, every co-sponsor we get brings us closer to the goal, whether they're on committee or not, because one can influence another. And we've seen this happen time and time again, where one will be talking to another, and then all of a sudden we'll have a pair sign on. So in June, we got the introduction. We had 2 in the House, 2 in the Senate. July and August, we added 3 in the House, 3 in the Senate, so on and so forth. In January alone, and I just want to congratulate the group here, because this isn't something that Susan and I are calling and getting meetings for. They don't want to hear from us. They want to hear from you, the constituents. So I can call in Washington State. Susan can call in Minnesota. I know Proof's done a great job of reaching out in Minnesota too. So thank you to Proof Alliance for that. But in all the states, this is why we need individuals to be reaching out to their own 2 senators and representative, so that we can get these sign-ons. And it's been happening. January, we got 7 in the House, 2 in the Senate. And again, putting it into perspective, when we introduced FASD related, when FASD related legislation was introduced in the 116th Congress, so in, was that 2018 through 2020, we only had 8 in the House and 2 in the Senate. So you can see the momentum growing here. In January, we added a couple from California, one from Washington State. Woohoo! I was very excited. My rep, Kim Schreier, signed on. She's my rep in Washington State. I first met with her in April. So this is kind of the length of time it's taking to get people on board. Some, we had a meeting with Representative Thompson in California, and we were on a call with him for 5 minutes. And he's like, yep, I'll sign on, no problem, okay. Others, like Schreier, it took since April to get her on the bill. So it really, it can vary. And I would encourage you that if you've reached out, keep reaching out, keep sending them materials. I post updates to the policy site pretty regularly, and there's always materials and things that you can send to your legislator just to keep touching base. Just touch, touch, touch. And if you run out of ideas, let me know. I'm happy to help there too. In the Senate, we added Shelley Moore Capito and Maisie Hirano. And I want to give shout outs to 2 states here because the state of Maine now has every single one of their legislators, all their congresspeople, all their senators on board as co-sponsoring the bill. So we've swept the state of Maine. We've also swept the state of Hawaii. So huge shout outs there to FASD Maine and to Hawaii FASD action group. You've done some wonderful things. Thank you. I know Gigi, you're involved with the Hawaii FASD action group as well. Just some remarkable advocacy there, and they've done a great job.
And I just want to add to this. Jen's absolutely right. Some will go on immediately, and we don't. And it didn't take a lot. Others, like Schreier, it was multiple contacts. Representative David Trone from Maryland, I've worked with his staff for 2 years. He was on the bill before. And so that one just, and we found out just before Christmas, and she said, thank you for being patient. And you see in the turquoise, Representative Tom Emmer from Minnesota. I want to give kudos out to Sarah and Proof. They were dogged in getting, he's not officially on with congress.gov, but he will be. And then we just had a meeting with Representative Beyer from Virginia, and that was Kate, that's her congressman. So it really does work, and it's those connections with constituents that truly makes a difference. Okay, I think we can.
Yep. So yeah, looking at our current list of sponsors, you can see who we have on committee. Obviously, first of which, Lisa Murkowski, who introduced the bill, is a great one to have on the HELP committee. And again, these are the 2 committees of jurisdiction that we were talking about before, the HELP committee in the Senate, and which is Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, and then the Energy and Commerce Health Subcommittee in the House.
And we are, well, as I mentioned, we would like to get a hearing in the House. And as Jen mentioned, they have a ton of bills. And so again, like we said last month, it's a squeaky wheel. But now we have 3 members of that subcommittee that are co-sponsors. So we are going to have them, we're going to ask them to write a letter to the subcommittee for a hearing. And it's great now that we have 3 on that subcommittee. So the more and more that we can get that are on that subcommittee, the more likely we will get a hearing.
And it would be really helpful if we could get any Republicans on committee on that. I know I have one in Washington State I'm working on. Over in Spokane. So anybody from Spokane and Washington State here, let me know. That'd be really helpful. We've got one in Georgia that I know Melissa's working on really hard, Buddy Carter. So definitely having a balance, because this is bipartisan legislation and a bipartisan issue. So looking at coverage, just kind of want to show where we came from and where we are. That's where we were in July on the House. And you can see where we've had meetings and where we have sponsors in the state. So the green in the January graphic refers to sponsors, and the pink refers to meetings. So there's still a couple of states where we haven't had meetings with House members yet. If you're in any of those states, please reach out to me. I know I sound like a broken record here, but we do want to get this whole map colored in. And then in the Senate, same situation. We've added a couple new states here, but definitely want to get that map colored in as well. So if you're noting that, oh gosh, I'm in one of those states that's blank, I'd love to hear from you. So path forward, and I'm going to apologize for the graphics being a little bit wonky on this, and we kind of talked about this, so we'll kind of skip through it quickly, but you know, what are we doing to get there? We do have those 2 additional House co-sponsors committed to signing on. We have a key meeting scheduled with Chairman Pallone of the Energy and Commerce Committee coming up here in the next week, which should help with getting it pushed through committee. We know Anna Eshoo, who chairs the health subcommittee, her legislative analyst that handles the healthcare portfolio and the health committee is coming back off of leave here in the next couple of weeks. So that should help with getting things, building connections and getting things put through. So we really do have fewer meetings booked now with legislators. So that's an area where we could really, again, use some help. And if you're wondering how you can book a meeting with your legislator, if you go to the the NOFAS policycenter.org site, and you can link to that through the FASD United site, go to individual advocacy for the FASD Respect Act, click on your state, and everything you need to be able to walk you through that process is right there. A template for reaching out, what to say, who to reach out to. And if you get stuck, just call me. My number is plastered everywhere on the website. January endorsements. Endorsements are a great way of letting legislators know that organizations are interested in the bill and are behind and are backing the bill. We have a really great list of endorsements for the Respect Act. You can access that list from the policy site, either on updates or on the organization page or on the staffer's document page. It's everywhere. But we did add a number of Learning Disabilities Association state chapters to the bill. We also have the national organization on as a co-sponsor or as an endorser, but you can check out that list on the Policy Center. And that's a great document to send to your legislator as a follow-up. You know, if you've had a meeting with them, anytime there's an update there, go ahead and send them, you know, hey, we've added more endorsements. That's a good thing to send them. Or if we added a new co-sponsor, they might want to know who else we've added on. They might know those folks. Their legislative analysts might know, might have worked in that office before. It's amazing the amount of crossover there is on the Hill. So additionally, a way you can help is to reach out to organizations and ask them to sign on to the letter of support to endorse the bill. And it's a quick, easy form. They just click, click, click on the website and they're added on there. So yes, the LDA conference is I know there's a presentation, there's a note in the chat from Michelle Traeger, and that's awesome that you're presenting at the Illinois Council of Children with Behavioral Disorders. And I know we have an advocate from Texas who's presenting at the LDA Learning Disabilities Association of America conference this week in New Orleans. So getting the word out there, which is great. So a quick reminder that if you do not yet have a state proclamation going on in your state, so FASD Awareness Month is in September. And a great way to tie your legislators in, to get some notice, to make some noise. And I've set this as a personal goal this year. I would like to see there be a proclamation in all 50 states this year, recognizing FASD Awareness Month. And it's not a difficult or challenging process to get that done. In most cases, it's an online form that you fill out and you attach draft language. So just a reminder to those of you who've done it in the past, you may want to start thinking about that now and working on your language. And also we'll have on the policies site a draft that you can copy and paste, and then obviously change it as it best suits your state. It's a starting point for you if you haven't done that before. So the elephant in the room. Like most of you, if not all of you, when I first saw the skit, as I'm watching the skit, my heart was sinking. You know, I don't know if I even have words to describe how I feel about it. But I think this brings up some very good conversation points and some ways to utilize this as a catalyst for change, to take this negative thing and move it into a way of bringing awareness to the fact that individuals with FASD have been stigmatized and overlooked, and changing that is going to require policy change. Changing that is going to require education. Changing that is going to require awareness. And those are all things that the FASD Respect Act can bring. So a number of you have been very vocal, and I've been very vocal in voicing our displeasure and voicing our outrage at this particular skit. This was, for those of you that don't know, this was a Saturday Night Live skit which aired not this past weekend, but the weekend prior. I don't encourage watching it, but needless to say, it was bad. It bullied and made fun of a young man who had social challenges, challenges with hygiene, yeah, and other challenges. And then at the very end, the mom threw out, "And he's like this because I drank while I was pregnant." And it was, yeah. So as a result, like I said, a lot of people have reached out to Saturday Night Live to voice their displeasure, as well you should. But I would encourage you that in addition to that, reach out to your legislators. They're not going to do anything about a Saturday Night Live skit, but it is, I think, a very good way of pointing out that this disability is underheard, underrecognized, and the stigma is there, and we need some change to fight that. So we have had some outreach on behalf of FASD United also to address this concern directly with Saturday Night Live, and I'll let Susan talk to that.
Okay. Thanks, Jen. And I just
Get a glass of water at the bar. Thanks.
could I ask you all to mute? I hope we can have, we've left some time in the agenda for any discussion, but I have to say, in my over 25 years in this business, I've never seen the FASD community come together on any one issue in society the way they have with this. And so, you know, I'm a half glass full person rather than empty. I know it was disgusting, awful, but, and when Jen talks about policy and being boring, policy really impacts how we live our lives. I used to work in the Minnesota legislature. I don't know a lot. I mean, people in Minnesota may know that about me, but before I went to law school, I worked in the public information office, and I sat through, I don't even want to tell you how many hearings on bills and all that. And policy impacts people's lives. And that's really what the Respect Act is doing. And this SNL skit just amplifies where we need to be to change this dynamic that we're in, this bubble that we've been trying to get out, where the systems of care. So I just want to ask, how many people have contacted SNL that are participating? Can we do a show of hands maybe? I don't know. Jen, you're the more don't.
And it would help if I'm unmuted. You can use the hand button on your, if you don't want to put your camera on too.
Yeah.
I would say a high number of folks on the call have.
And we put out, so we put out a statement Sunday night, and I believe, Jen, what did you, and that's another slide, but she can talk about the viewership, but it just broke all records on that update. I was fortunate to have a friend who works for NBC Universal, high up, an executive vice president. So I immediately contacted this person, and he forwarded my email to senior cast staff, and they were going to send it to the producers. And he did that right away. And then I also contacted Al Franken, and I don't know, I would imagine most of you know Al Franken. He's former senator from Minnesota. I know him personally, but also he started his career with SNL. And I thought, if we're going to have a conversation with SNL, we need to know how to communicate, and the culture at SNL and the comedy at SNL. And I know it was, many, many years ago, but I thought maybe he might have some insights. So, and he was very responsive, got back to me right away. And as a result, we got the name of the right person at NBC Universal to request a conversation with NBC Universal. And we sent that request on Friday, I believe, and we got a response back yesterday. They actually were open to meet today after this meeting, but I think we felt we needed, this takes, a little energy out of us. So the meeting is now, it's a 30-minute meeting on Friday, including my friend from NBC Universal, as well as two people from their team. So we're encouraged by the response that we got from them and the willingness to have a conversation about the SNL skit. I don't know if Tom or Jen or Susan, who are on our policy team or on the team, want to comment any more than that. Tom?
Sorry. Thank you, Susan. I had to unmute there. Yeah, I think that's right. I think the most important thing is, our translating, the range of emotions, anger, frustration, and on, into positive action and a positive discussion with NBC Universal and perhaps folks at SNL. And then as Jen has been saying, directing our efforts towards, just the FASD Respect Act. So we are looking at this very closely and are eager to have the conversation. I think that's, for us, while we're hopeful that that goes in the direction where they listen to the concerns that we convey to them and are willing to talk about concrete ideas to address the issue. In the long run, if they, in some ways, a corporation like NBC Universal can be supportive of this bill, and I don't know in what form that would take, and it could get passed. I think that is an acceptable outcome. It's not the complete outcome we want, but that's what is in front of us right now, and we're focused on having a productive discussion on Friday.
And Jen could talk more about this slide, but media is an influencer, and there is a story here with the Respect Act and the SNL and the advocacy. And I know this is another contact from Minnesota. She's now executive editor of National Public Radio out of DC. And I'm going to reaching out to her to do a story on National Public Radio on this story of all the advocacy and the SNL and all of this. I think it's a very important human interest story. So, but these can be opportunities for you guys in your states, in your communities, to use the media as an influencer, because it all adds up. Maine did a fabulous job with National Public Radio in Maine. And so start thinking about how you can do the same kind of thing on a state level.
I think one of the things that I personally have always felt was a challenge within the FASD community is we talk a lot to each other. We share the same information in the same circles. And gradually, as people get diagnosed, they join into the circle, right? And they start getting the same information. But we share that information around internally, and getting that information externally has been an issue. So these are some concrete things that we can be doing to help bring FASD external instead of only internal. So social media, if you are posting about FASD, tag your 2 senators and your rep. On the nofastpolicycenter.org site, there is a whole stable of FASD Respect Act posts. But even if you're just posting about FASD in general, make it a habit to tag your senators and your rep, or tag your local legislators. If a lot of states are working on state policy right now. I know Minnesota's got some, Massachusetts got some, Florida's got some, California's got some. I've got some in Washington State. I was able to testify at a state Senate hearing this week. So there's lots going on that we can tag them with. Responses to media, if we're meeting with SNL, we'll definitely put out some information after that. But that's something you can also follow up with your lawmakers with. It's just bringing attention, bringing awareness. This is broader than just one lone parent standing up and saying, "Hey, this is not okay in my state." There's a press release that we did that was sent out to all the major news outlets. Don't know if it got picked up, but it was sent out, and the press release that we sent out, you can revise that press release to use within your own state. So I'm just going to wait for a second here.
It should be, it should.
Oh.
If I could
Hang
just
on, I
ask
might- yeah.
everybody to mute too. Awesome, thank you. You know, you said issuing a press release in your own state is something that's possible, and sending that out. Sharing the press release with your local legislator or with your legislators, another thing you can do. So just connecting. So much of this is connecting and networking and getting that information from point A to point B. So if you have any questions on how to do that, or you're looking for a material that you can't find, again, please reach out to me. I'd love to help with that. We're going to go ahead and open it up to questions right now. I would say that we do a lot of we just want to be really respectful in this conversation. There are individuals with FASD on this call, and we need to be mindful that everyone on this call is deserving of respect. And so just want to be very, very aware of that. So I will open it up to questions if anybody has one. If you want to pop it in the chat, that's fine. If you want to raise your voice, that's okay. And just unmute yourself, that's okay too.
Hello, this is Diana Brocious.
Diana.
Hi, I'm from Pennsylvania. Lynn Becker and I do a lot of work in Pennsylvania.
Woohoo! I love Pennsylvania.
And I'm the adoptive mother of two with FASD, one with syndrome and one that has died in an accident, and been raising the oldest granddaughter who is very seriously affected. However, I have had some wild experiences through my time. And one of the biggest lessons that I was taught early on was we had a therapist that absolutely was convinced I was maleficent without the payroll. And I just kept plugging away, being nice, being respectful, just giving more information. Anyway, the short of the long is he became my most powerful advocate. Sometimes bad things, unpleasant things, wrong things will happen, and it is a huge opportunity to turn an enormous powerhouse into your biggest voice. SNL has the ability, with all of the connections of some of which you've mentioned, to do exactly that. And the only thing about the woman speaking up at that really concerned me, and I admit I haven't seen it, nor will I watch it, is many women don't even know they're pregnant. And they drink that first 3 months, just drink and no clue. So, and I have found that's a very palatable piece of information to even those who are naysayers of this, because that makes sense to them. Therefore, nobody's to blame. It's a horrific accident, and we need to educate people more. Yahoo, you're right. So I just wanted to say that this could be an amazing, especially if they gave you access to their commercial spots, maybe every now and then, a PSA. So that's all I wanted to say was I just saw this. I know if this happened in Pennsylvania, I would be dancing in somebody's waiting room just if I had to at night to grab hold of them and have a chat. Take advantage and you go.
Thank you, Diana. Thanks for sharing your story too. Yeah, definitely. I know apparently at one point in the past, this is back in the 90s, there was another organization, another broadcast network that had made a similar faux pas. And apparently we were able to get a number of the more you know PSAs out as a result of that. So yeah, this is an opportunity for sure to help spread public awareness in a positive way.
Well, and I would say the FASD Respect Act is twofold, and both of those were amplified with that skit. And so you're absolutely right. We want to address both stigma issues having to do with those that are pregnant and, you know, and drink, and as well as those that are impacted by it. So and that's a discussion that we'll have.
So there was a question in the chat from Terry Hansen about, and thank you, Terry, this is a good point. Where can we find the press release regarding the Saturday Night Live skit? That was in the weekly roundup and it's available there. I will hopefully by the end of this call, if not within 10 minutes afterwards, have it posted up as an update on the NoFast Policy Center site. So I apologize. I had thought I had already done that, but apparently I had not. So I really appreciate the reminder. And that is a good reminder for anything on the nofastpolicycenter.org site. If you see something there that is off or not right or needs to be updated, it is not your job to proofread the website for me. I absolutely respect that. But if you see something that's off, please tell me. And usually I can have it fixed within a day. That's something I'm doing directly, and I'm happy just to pop in there and get it fixed. Is there a Dear Colleague letter yet? That was a question from Rachel. And thank you for bringing that up. Susan, do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, no, it's a simple answer, but I'm on top of it, and I was hoping that we would have it today to share with you, but it's the last time I talked to Patrick from McCollum's office, because it would be a Dear Colleague them. We will try to get that out as soon as possible, because we need that to do the follow-up. Or you guys need it, we need it to do the follow-up for those we've met with, and it needs to be updated with all the endorsements and the new CDC data. So there's, they have all the information. I know that, you know, staff has been just crazy busy, and we haven't talked about the appropriations process. There's a continuing resolution the end of February, or 18th of February. And so they're involved in that again, but we'll bug them because we need it.
There's a question in the chat about, can we use the press release as a template for your own states? Yes, absolutely. Just make sure that if you are using quotes, that you are using them exactly in the same context, or you reach out and ask us to confirm, ask anybody who's giving the quote to confirm that. Quotes are best from your own state, though, if you're issuing a statewide press release. So awesome to come up with your own. Now, I see there's a number of hands up, and I don't know if the hands are up as a result of saying that, hey, I've reached out to Saturday Night Live, or they're as a result of a question. So I'm going to ask that if you do have a question and your hand is up, please go ahead and just speak out, because otherwise I don't want you to feel like I'm not noticing you.
This is Barbara Hansen from California.
Barbara.
Hi there. I wanted to say that I really do see this as an opportunity. And I mean, it didn't occur to me to go broader with it, but we have enough awareness now at the county level, Santa Clara County, that if I were to have people watch this, they would feel as horrified as we do. So it gives fertilizer to the ground that we've plowed already. And I also think it's interesting that any other disability would not have been allowed. Can you imagine the autism community? What might have happened? So it is a thing of not being aware. So that I'm just really kind of excited about bringing it the public. I just wanted to say while I have the floor that, we've been working very hard on getting FASD under OHI in California. And we have engaged a senator that has agreed to put a number to our bill. So we'll keep you updated on that. We're very excited.
Right.
That is so exciting. You folks have been doing such great work there in California, both within your own group and then within the FASD now, and just so much respect for everything that you folks are doing there in California.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Took a long time.
Let's see. And Tom
Others
did
have any news to share with their advocacy in their states?
A little update on Washington State. There was a hearing yesterday on removing IQ as a determining factor for DDA or waivers support in the state of Washington. And I did testify briefly because there were a lot of people testifying, asking that, just saying that, yeah, we needed to have IQ not be used, use adaptive skills instead. And then additionally, adding in FASD as a umbrella term to be classified as a developmental disability there. So we'll see. It was in the form of a friendly amendment. It would be great if it works. That would mean a lot of things to the state of Washington here, because none of my kids get support here. But I do encourage you to get involved in your state politics, because it really is a dance between the two.
And just a comment on that, that I got from Catherine, and I don't know if Catherine Shea, I don't know if she's on here, because they're doing the same thing in Florida. And she forwarded to our policy team a fiscal note on that, which I think was overly, I guess, I wouldn't say conservative, it would be the other direction as to what it would cost the state to do that. And it was over 10 years, it was about close to $500 million, and they were using a prevalence of 1% and assuming that all of those would access DD services. So I think as states get into doing more of this, we need to really hone in and provide that, technical assistance, so that those offices that they're doing those costs, that they got the right, they have, good information. So at this stage, I'm not sure how it can be changed, but that was what their estimate was based on.
Yeah, I am on Susan, and I think that probably killed the bill.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep trying to do some work, and I think we, I asked the office the question, why aren't you doing a cost savings analysis?
Yeah.
Of course, they don't do that.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to do that. Maybe we need to start with the cost savings analysis to be able to give back to them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, are you talking about the cost of FASD if we recognize it in an education bill?
No.
And you do
as a developmental disability.
Yeah. That they would go to the top of the list for category, and we're getting more towards the end of the hour, so I probably shouldn't have brought it up, but it was the cost if those would access DD services based on a 1% prevalence, what it would cost the state to provide those services. And
do you think that's applicable to education?
I think education would be different, because and I don't know if Sarah's on, there was a briefing done on that, and a lot of individuals with FASD are already getting services. It's not, I don't think it's appropriate. So it's not a question of, these are going to be new people coming in on with special ed. So I think special ed is a much easier sell. And I think we really need to do a deeper dive on the developmental disability issue.
And that's what we're saying too, is that that we believe that the kids are already in the system, but appropriate is the key word. It's
Right.
free and appropriate. So it's the appropriate piece that we're selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I know that they have huge waiting lists for DD, and the fiscal note that they gave Florida was that this would put them at the top of that waiting list, and it would cost the state this, almost 500 million over 10 years, which I think that was crazy, but right now we don't have the facts to change their analysis.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we can't, take that on and look at that whole issue of costs and cost savings, and if you provide that kind of service, you're not, it will lessen other kinds of residential or corrections. I mean, oh, Gigi's got a question. Do you have an approximation on the bill's timeline?
It depends on what happens with Russia and the Ukraine. It depends on what happens with the revitalization of Build Back Better. Like there's a lot of, I've been giving guesses since the beginning. I no longer give guesses. We have up until January of 2023, and then we have to start over again. So I would say, that really is the thing. We have the time to do this. We need to use that time wisely and try and push it as quickly as we can. But this is by no means dead. It's a work in progress. And again, I've said this also from the beginning, even if this bill doesn't pass, and I'm committed to it passing, but even if it doesn't, what we are doing is building connections. We are building community. We are building awareness. Every legislator, every legislative aide that we meet with, that's paving the way for future legislation. That's building those connections, building those relationships, building that awareness. So none of what we're doing right now is in vain. Another thing I know coming up this week, and I know we've got like 2 minutes left. I know Marissa's saying that she's got advocacy events in February in Minnesota and some great policy initiatives in Minnesota. And they're definitely one to watch on policy within the state too. There is a presentation being done on Thursday, the 27th by the FASD Collaborative that is utilizing some really amazing messaging that's been put together collaboratively within the state of Alaska on 9 key messages, 9 key things to know. That would be a great one where if you have somebody outside of the community, kind of on the fence and needing to know more, those are free. So I would highly recommend that as an option to send out to folks too. Bring people into our circle, give some awareness.
I also want to say on the timeline in Congress, you really can't, and Jen talked a lot about that, but there have been occasions, and Tom has been around for many years and can talk about those, where you could have something where you need to put something in a bill right away. So there could be opportunities where some of the FASD Respect Act could be put into a bill, and we would have to make a decision like right now. I think, Tom, you were at a cocktail party and found out that was when the first authorization got passed back in 1997 or 8. So it's hard to predict. But if I had to make a prediction on us versus any other, bill like this, I would bet on this one.
So, any other questions before you are free to go about the country with your advocacy? I just wanted to.
I had a comment on
please,
the
Joel.
cost. This is Joel. years ago, I was involved in the Minnesota Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, and there were a couple of organizations that pulled resources to do a study on the cost savings to the state for prevention. It was 34-1 in terms of dollars saved. And that had, so going back to the conversation about doing a study and showing the cost savings, that's a case study that we could look at. It led to the No Wrong Door Act and some policies and funding here in the state of Minnesota. For what it's worth, I just throw that out. It was very effective for when they see dollars and the hard cost behind it of making a difference.
Thank you, Joel. I think that's the route we need to go. I mean, we do have the economic cost studies for this disability. And they're frankly, I think conservative, and they're a lot of money. And we're spending a lot of money. So this is just a tiny, tiny fraction of what we're spending. And a lot of that funding, especially on the downstream corrections, residential treatment, money. So we need to make that case.
Right. Well, we are at the top of the hour. I will, like I said, let you go to be free to move around the country with your advocacy. I want to thank you all for being here today, and thank you genuinely for your support and for your advocacy. Everything that you're doing is making a difference for everyone here, and for my family personally. And I really genuinely appreciate that. So. Have a great month. We'll see you last Wednesday of the month in February.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.